Thanks, great. Let's go through the answers to this and see how you went, hey? So I've already put the percentages there. Remember, the normal distribution percentages are the same each time as long as you've got the even standard deviations. All right, let's pick Isaac.
Oh.
Where do we start in terms of labeling the axis here?
Like, the mean.
Yeah. Where would you start with the mean?
Yeah, you start with the mean.
All right.
33 in the middle.
33. And then what would you do next, Oliver?
You need the standard deviation is 2, so you do increments of 2 downwards and upwards.
So like this, 31, 29, 27?
No.
No, why would I not do that?
Because that wrong way.
Wrong way, okay? So Hudson, what should I do instead? The other way? All
I
right.
think it's done instead.
And you can see the slow worm is making its way around. What would we do next?
You do it
The other side? So what would that value be?
35.
Good. Okay. Question. Where does that graph finish? Does it stop there or does it go on forever? It's infinite. Good. It goes on forever. Good. Good remembering. Okay. B. What percentage of NFL players retire between 35 and 37? This type of question is a routine one. We just look at the graph. 35, 37.
Good job, Spence.
Thank you. How do you get to that conclusion?
13.59%. Straight from the graph. Good. Now, give yourself 1 mark if you got that answer. This one here is out of 3. So far, this answer here would only be worth 2 marks because what is it missing? Labeling the axis. What does it need?
What?
What does it need?
Oh, age.
Yeah, age. Bracket, years. Okay, tick, tick, tick. There's your 3 marks.
Oh, I saw that.
See how it says show the above information, show the percentage, label the axis. Tick, tick, tick. C part 1, let's keep it moving around the room. She's in the zone, so I'm not going to ask her. Belinda, what did you get for C part 1? How did you get that answer? 33 and 37? Can you repeat? Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Can you repeat the answer for it one more time?
47.72%.
Great. 47.72%. Give yourself the mark if you got that question right. So, for those who are new to this, remember that these are increments. You know, this is for a continuous variable, all right, where the values can change. Let's go to the next slide. Okay. Hence, Joe, what does it mean if it says hence? What does hence mean?
Therefore.
Therefore. So what answer are we going to use to be able to help us to do this question?
Words.
Words. Like, what's going to be our clue? What's going to be our hint?
Are you still asking me?
Yeah, I'm still asking you. Yeah.
What's the question?
I'll go to Hayden. Hayden. It says hence. What answer do you think we might need to use to be able to do this question?
Worded answer.
A worded answer? It's not quite what I was looking for.
Pass it off to Jabba. Pass it off to Jabba.
Go to Jabba. Okay. Explain. This is part 2 of the question, and it says hence.
Yeah.
So what do you think we might need to use to do this question?
Relating to like double I or something?
Yeah, relating to
Double C. C.
C part 1. Yeah.
Pass it off to Elijah.
So a part 2 question which says hence probably means we're going to need to use the previous question. Hence. Hence, in a team which has 45 players. How many would be expected to retire between 33 and 37?
21.
So, what's your process? Tell me you're working out.
So based on the previous answer, you have to put it in decimal form. Yeah. So it would be 0.4772.
So 47.72% is 0.4772.
And then you would times that by 45.
Good. Why have you times by 45?
Because there's 45 players on this.
Good.
That's good.
Right. Remember a percentage to decimal. We move the decimal spot 2 spots to the left. Okay. Which would give us an approximate answer, wouldn't it? Or did you get an exact decimal answer?
I just used approximate.
21.
What'd you get?
21. As like when you round it down to 100.
What's the answer? As a
21.4.
75.
So 21.47, but because this is a question about people,
You're on down.
we need to round it down. 21 NFL players. Or 21 people.
Players are right.
21 players is alright. So, okay, so, bit of work for 1 mark, but please make sure you've got a whole number as your answer there. We need 21 people. Alright,
Who called me something straight?
D. Let's complete these sentences here. So, do you want to kick us off? 50% of NFL players retire by the age of what?
Guys, I don't see what's
A friend said 33.
Okay, a friend said 33. Alright, actually, I'm not going to make people answer this question, but I just want you to put your hand up if you think you know the correct answer to part 1. Like if you're pretty confident in your answer. Put your hand up if you're confident. I just want to see, nice and high. Hands down, alright? So we haven't got everyone in the class. So, let's go, Kyle.
Actually, my answer doesn't really make sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
So who's pretty confident and willing to give us an answer?
I think Matt is.
It's a zero judgment zone.
Why do you have to always ask?
There
are
But you made me do it.
It's an open.
Guys.
Why is it 33?
Because it's 50% in the middle.
The 50% is the middle, the median, right? The median is symmetrical, so that's going to be the halfway point, right? Also, back on your diagram here, remember 50% is on the left of the mean. Thank you. Thanks. I know it's Friday afternoon. We're going to have some time to be able to do some chatting, but right now we need to just be full attention. Right. 50% is on the left-hand side, 50% is on the right of the mean. Right? So 50% is 33. Part 2, based on the above graph, it is not possible for someone to retire at age 23. Let's go here. What did you say?
False.
Why did you say false?
Because like the graph doesn't stop at 27.
Good, it doesn't actually stop. It goes on for infinity. Okay? So, it's just, is it likely for them to retire at age 23? No. Right? It's very
No, I did not. Matt put you on my thing.
45 players.
Listening.
It says 45 players. So with the 45 players, each player has a percentage, and by the time you get to 23, there's...
In a group of 45, there probably isn't one person who's going to be retiring at 23 based on this model. But, in 4,500 people, it probably is someone. Yeah. Definitely in those smaller groups, it's going to be less of a chance there. So it's still false. Good. It's good that you're thinking about the data set. Right. Part 3, it would be reasonable or not reasonable here. Daniel, what did you say for this one here?
It says reasonable.
Why is it reasonable? Yeah, why would you say that?
I mean, it's still like a sport. I don't know.
Alright, because it's a sport. Tell me more.
Well, it's a sport. Like you can still. I I guess I'd retire at similar ages.
Retire simulates. Okay, so with this type of question here, whether something's reasonable or not reasonable mathematically, and you're coming to a conclusion, right? That answer is different to probably what I'm thinking. I probably would disagree and go, it's probably more so not reasonable because this original data was American football, NFL, from a different country compared to Australia and volleyball, a different sport. So in my opinion, and this is probably an opinion question, in my opinion, because it's different sports and different countries, I'd probably say it's not reasonable. So I'm going to put a little star here though. I feel like, Daniel, you were sort of starting towards giving a reason why it could be reasonable. You know, you were making some headway there. I feel like you didn't quite convince me though, right? You probably could, listening. You could argue that it is reasonable because of some of those reasons that you've sort of said. Yes, it's sport. Yeah, it's a physical thing. You know, there's probably, if you came up with a really good argument, you probably could argue for it being reasonable. Now, you're going to be coming up later in the year, and in the test for this topic, you're going to have questions like that. And to be honest, what I'm more so going to be looking for is your reasons behind why you're thinking what you're thinking. For some of those discussion questions, you could probably argue it both ways. What's really and most important is you actually having a really solid reason as to why you're believing what you're believing. All right? So for me, I'm saying it's not reasonable because it's different countries, different sports. It's probably fair. All right? But if you had a really good reason, you could probably argue it the other way as well. All right. Well done. We've recapped what we did last lesson.